everyone? My name is Bryce Landers, and you're on the Labelless Podcast, where we look to remove labels from your life in any way necessary. I'm here with an amazing individual. Actually, one of the first people I met in the real estate space. Just incredible master of networking, Jalen Britton. What's up, bro?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me. I feel honored, man. That was a great intro, man. That was a great
I
intro.
mean, I would be shocked if they did not know who you are because of how you network. But for those of the rare individuals that don't know you, can you tell us a little about yourself? How you got your start? Where you're from?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm originally from Chicago, and then I came to Arizona when I got stationed here. I was in the Marine Corps. Transitioned out of Marine Corps, I started helping another investor on his projects, and that was pretty much how I got started with fixing and flipping. So since then, we scaled, a fix and flip operation with him, and then later on, like severed the partnership, went on my own, built a wholesale business, and then built my own fix and flip business in addition to wholesale. So today, I'm running three businesses. I do my wholesale, I do fix and flip, and then I'm running affiliate marketing campaigns through funnels for some of my buddies that are doing like software automations, and they're selling it as like a digital product. So
Man, that's awesome and incredible. So a lot to unpack with that too. So you're in the Marine Corps. Appreciate your service. Like that. That's awesome. How how did you meet your first partner, and what was that experience like when you first got into fix and flipping?
honestly, man, this dude was just like a. You think I'm good at networking? This guy is like he just had a way with like breaking the ice with people. And like when he first met me, he was actually a family member of someone that I was really close with when I was in the service. And so he kind of won me over as a friend by just kind of being around and always cracking jokes. And so at the time, he was doing mortgages and I was in the military. And so obviously 2019, 2020, the height of like everything fighting, yeah, the height of everything. He's like making like 60, 80, 100,000 a month, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing mortgages. And so he got me into doing mortgages. So I got my mortgage license like a couple months after that because I was getting ready to get out. So when I got out, I moved to Phoenix with Chandler, East Valley, when I first got out, and I was working at Fairway as a loan officer, and I was just doing like inbound and outbound leads, like while I was like calling off of like a dollar. So I had like experience with that. Introduced me to sales. That introduced me to meeting agents. Like that was like my first introduction really to like real estate. And so by the time I got planted in like the mortgage industry, which was probably about like a year, he had already moved on to his next endeavor, which was fixing and flipping. And so he took all his money he made off mortgages and went to go buy a bunch of projects in the valley. And again, so he started off. I think he started off with like one, but he was doing them so fast that they started to stagger. And then he got partnered with a real estate fund that was at one point funding 100% of cost. And so which was pretty cool because that's usually the number one excuse or reason why someone can do things. At least that's what they tell themselves, is that it's the money. And that right there just debunks the myth completely, is that you don't really need to be the one that has the money. You just need to know how to go out and source the funds. And so I learned at the time when it was happening, I was seeing a lot of stuff that I didn't really know what it was or what it meant until maybe like a year later. Like I didn't know we were raising money. I didn't even know that was called private money at the time. To make a long story short about like what my role was initially with this guy, I was pretty much like his worker, and I would go shovel the rocks. I would go drop off the lock boxes. I would go pick up the tile. I would go coordinate with the contractors, and that was what got me like extremely like. That's what. How can I put it, bro? Like I had to. I didn't have like a regular start, you know. I didn't have like a regular start into the industry because I came into like a machine that was already running at a very high level. You know, at one point it was like 10 projects that we were working on in the valley. You know, and it was just me and him. And so yeah, and so that was like how I kind of got. That was how I got started. Yeah, and then yeah, so from there I came back home because I wasn't doing mortgages anymore at that point, and I wasn't fixing and flipping after those projects. Came back home, built a wholesale business.
That's awesome. And which did you like more at the time, the wholesaling or the fix and flipping? I mean, you're doing both now.
Honestly, the wholesale, because it's after because it did take me a while to get it off the ground because this was again still fairly new for me, and I had never done it before, and so. But what made me do it is because I was hearing how I knew how much work I was putting in on the fix and flip projects, and then I knew how much work these wholesalers were not doing, and they were making the same amount of money, if not more, with less overhead, with less stress, with less coordination. It was just like it was just simple, and I was like, if I can do that, I can definitely coordinate this, and so that was what flip the switch in my brain. Like, dude, you can build a wholesale business. Like, if you can fix and flip, you can wholesale.
Yeah. Now, did you ever feel overwhelmed when you first got your start? Because I mean, being new into the industry and just getting thrown to the wolves with someone doing 10 projects at a time. What was that experience like?
It was exciting, it really showed me that it broke so many paradigms for me at one time. It was the fact that this was someone that I had known to have never been this guy operating at this level, now operating at this level. And then on top of that, I'm in the midst of a $4 million, fix and flip operation. Again, this is new stuff to me, and I'm watching, how decisions are being made. I'm watching how fast people move. I'm watching how cutthroat people are, and you really you learn a lot. You learn a lot more being around people that do a lot more. Obviously, because it's just there's more things to experience, more things to watch. The day was never the same, and so I got a lot out of that. A lot of perspective from the variety of experiences that I had.
100%. I mean, there's so many different sayings about like, your network is your net worth, or, birds together flock together, and just all these sayings that, they sound cute and they're like catchy, but they're legit true sayings.
Did true
And
statements.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, I call you the master networker. So, like, what's your advice for people who maybe don't network or aren't familiar with networking, like how they can start to get around different people? Because I know for myself, I mean, I actively seek out other individuals who are further ahead of me, but some people don't know where to go. They don't know what to do or how to even start. So what would you say to people?
I would say, first and foremost, because okay, so this is what I noticed, right? I noticed you can tell who's confused, and then you can tell who's networking with intent, you know. And for someone that's more experienced, that can either be a turnoff or like it can trigger some sort of resistance because a lot of people that are networking with intent, if once they see that you're confused, you're immediately disqualified, And so these are like the thoughts that people don't speak on in the moment. You just kind of get the passiveness in conversation. You get it's a whole lot to do with body language. I'm not like a body language or like a psychologist or anything like that, but I'm a really good judge of uh how people are giving off. I can tell when someone's interested. I can tell when they're not interested. I can tell when I'm talking too much. I can tell when I need to talk more. And so I would tell people before they go into a room, they number one, you have to be really confident. So it's going to take a lot of shadow work because your body language is going to project whatever, emotions you're feeling on the inside out. When you walk up to someone and you're confident, you're standing tall, and you reach out, you looking them in the eye, and you're assertive, but you're welcoming and you're friendly, that sets the tone for you going into the next phase of that interaction. So the better you are with setting yourself up for the conversation, the better you are going to do carrying the conversation, because you get that, because when you come off genuine, you get that genuine connection, and then it just kind of snowballs. So you be genuine from knowing how you operate, knowing, like, am I a person that talks a lot? Am I a person that likes to listen? But I'll say this too, right? And this is kind of going off on the tangent. Before you go out, you need to know your lines, and you need to do some inner work so that you don't come off as insecure, you know? And that's just the truth. The truth, the truth is that we can tell when you're insecure in a networking environment, And so the faster you can get more comfortable in your own skin, and you go out and you shake more hands, like, it just becomes easier. There's no awkward, there's no ice to break. Almost, it's almost like you start to feel fluid in the room, like, I can go and do and talk, and I can say, and people get that vibe from you. They get the vibe that you feel like you can go and do whatever you want to do, and so, and it draws people to you. It makes people want to talk to you because they see you're not afraid to talk to them back. But when you're like looking at someone and they got the straight face, or they're on their phone, like, I see that a lot of times you see people on their phone, they just stalling. They're stalling from.
Yeah, just avoiding it.
Yeah, these are all things that I notice. You know what I mean? Like, and then those are also cues in my head. I see someone on their phone at a networking event. I'm immediately, I was like, I'm not like making eye contact. I'm not making anyone feel awkward, but I'm just taking mental note as I scan the room. I'm taking note. Okay, that guy's not serious. This guy's not serious, and I'm just like, and I could be completely wrong, but this is my napkin underwrite for people, for who I'm going to go out through and talk to. I'm not going to go talk to the guy that's on his phone. I may go talk to the guy that's standing tall, looking confident, with three other people standing next to him to talk to him. I'm probably gonna go talk to that guy. Yeah.
What would you say? Because I mean, I completely agree. Because I know when I go to an event, like, I got to be on point. I meditate. I prepare myself. I'm like walking in. Bryce, you got to be on it. You got to be on it. Like, get ready to be this person. But but that's also because I do shadow work and I work on myself constantly. I went from super introvert. Like, you should have seen me 10 years ago. I was bad. And now it's like progression. But what would you say to those people about shadow work? Like, what kind of things should they work on to improve themselves in that area? Or what did you do?
I just kept getting rejected, and that's just the honest truth. Like, yeah, man. And it's like, when you have to have a certain type of mind, like, it's a certain type of person is going to go out and go network. It's probably going to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, someone that knows that their sole purpose is to go and problem solve, right? And have a problem solving, like, formula in their brain for any problem that comes in. It doesn't necessarily have to be specific to, like, their job. It can be applicable to their life too. So if I'm going out to these networking events and I'm seeing that I'm not getting the right responses from people, the first question I want to ask myself is, why are these people not receiving me? Okay. Like, what do I need to do to be more receivable to these people? And something that really helped me go far is, like, I really let go of, I feel like I needed to be, uh just, not there's anything wrong with being true to yourself. Okay, like, it's obviously you want to be who you want to be, but you got to understand too that you're dealing with a wide spectrum of personalities, that already have their own preconceived notions of how someone should be spoken to, how someone should be, acting in a certain environment. And so when you take that in account, that hey, it's not just about you and how you're looking at this situation. I need to zoom out and take in consideration that I'm dealing with another person and I can't be the same person for 10 people in a row. This person, I could probably approach them and be extremely analytical with them. Okay. And then I could probably approach this person and I see it's not really all about the analytics with them. It's not all about sounding smart. It's more so about a deeper connection. So maybe we don't even talk about real estate. We just talk about friends and family, you know? And so it's just having those, again, first watching the body language and seeing if they even want to open up to you. And then once you get them to open up though, you have to be actively listening for what they want to talk about. You know, I rarely talk about what I want to talk about. Honestly, I talk I talk about whatever they want to talk, and that's what happens. It's like they talk about themselves so much, they like walk away from it, and then they're like, "Damn, I really like." Yeah, and all I did was just hype them up the whole time. Like but I asked them, questions that let them know that I'm listening to them. That's the biggest thing is, keep your body language on point, and let them know that you're listening to them.
a
Yeah.
100%. And I've been guilty of that a lot. No, you think you're listening until they're like, "Hey, are you there?" It's like, "Oh, I spaced out," but no, like active, and so you can actually ask questions because it doesn't just benefit them; it benefits you. Like relationships are everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So and then it's just knowing that if you want people to feel a sense of warmth and intellect, you know? And that's like the perfect balance when you're networking. You want people to feel really warm with you and sense your intellect, you know? And so, yeah. And I learned that, and it's just you really work that muscle like the more hands that you shake, like the more hands you shake, you see how warm you can, because you can't be the same level of warm with every single person. You gotta tailor your warmness. You gotta tailor your intellect. Again, you can probably be super analytical with this person, but the next person probably won't care that much. So
It's interesting. You mentioned like you can't be the same person for all 10 people, right? And, and one of my mentors a while ago, he had said, Bryce, you need to learn a little about a lot of different things because that way you can hold conversations with a lot of different people. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I got my passions, but if I don't know about other stuff, I can't hold a conversation. Now, I can always ask questions, don't get me wrong, but at some point, people don't want to talk about basic stuff. If you know a little bit, then they're like, "Oh, you know about that?" And then it creates that instant connection.
being able to dig deeper in conversations, and the questions that you ask, again, you work really well on like just the questions you ask not being surface level questions. and and I somehow I always try to get it to loop back to them always, not yeah. And you got to do it very subtly too. You can't just keep, what do you think, you can't keep saying that. You just kind of gotta just keep asking about them very indirectly though. It's hard for me to explain it. I probably explain it's just different for every scenario.
So, can you speak on, because I mean, here in Phoenix, you got a lot of relationships. So, can you touch on or speak on the value of, I guess, reconnecting with people? Because you see similar faces at different events, and what's the value of like touching base with people? Maybe not even at events, but even like I'm sure you're on the phone checking in with people all the time. So, can you speak on the value?
The money is in the follow up. You know what I mean? And like, um, I would say this too with the follow up. Like, so Jonah Corchin, he's a guy I learned one of my methods from like getting deals. He says like if you give, you need to give 80% of your time to the 20% of the people that are giving you business, and then 20% of your time to the 80% of the people that just aren't ready today, you know? And so the reason I say that is because like a lot of the people you come in contact with, you're going to have to keep in touch with them. It's only going to be a select, core individuals that you're going to be talking to every single day, you know? And so if, you just kind of focus, you just kind of sprinkle your haze and your how you're doing and your phone conversations like over like a 3-4 month period, like you'll eventually start to build legitimate relationships with people. But to really to dig deeper like on the question though, like the real importance in following up with people is because you may not be able to connect the dots the next day or even the week after, but you may meet someone because you're always networking. You may meet someone in the next 6 months that you may be able to connect the dots on from somebody that you met 6 months ago, you know? And so being able to say, hey, I went to lunch with this person, a few times, and we had really good conversations every time. We talked about kids, we talked about what they were working on. Even and not once did we mention how we can work together. We just sat and talked about each other, and then and that way it's not forced, and that way we're not just throwing or like just stuff at each other, you know what I mean? We're not
Beyond the
just
superficial.
exactly, yeah. It's just like if we don't have nothing to work on, we don't have nothing to work on, but that doesn't mean I can't ask you what you're doing and you can't ask me what I'm doing, and then we could just part ways. And then, hey, you told me last time you were doing this. I just met a guy that need X, Y, and Z. Maybe we can connect the dots. And that's when it's less forced, and you don't have to ask, hey, how can I provide value to you? You just keep asking people, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then you get a sense of what they're doing, and then you go ask other people the same question. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then common sense your brain will literally make the connection. Like this person goes in the same bucket as this person. You're going to do it. You're going to do it, and these are ways that you monetize on your network, is being able to connect the dots. And the more dots you have to connect, the more you can monetize on your network.
100%. No, I love that. Now, what about the days that you don't feel like networking? So, because I mean, I saw you at Pace's house a couple weeks ago, last week, whenever it was, and I thought I was networking, but then you challenged me, and then you're like, bro, what are you doing? You got to shake some hands, you got to meet some people, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right, I got to go, and I mean, I put a fire in me, so I made some great connections that night. But what about you? Like when you're not feeling it or you feel yourself in like a slump, like how do you get through that and maintain the like consistent work?
This really goes deep into like that shadow work, where like you got to be able to separate, like your emotions from your logic, and you got to do what's right, for me. Yeah. So for me, it doesn't really matter how I feel. It's never going to dictate how I'm going to move forward, and yeah, man. It's just, and I feel like if we can all get on that page, like we can probably all collectively move 10 times faster. But what limits us is because we're all just too involved with our emotions, and we're not thinking with our brain that, yeah, I am tired, but okay, if I stay in today and I miss the time that I should be using to go and meet new people, or go foster those old relationships, like I'm pretty much giving that away. I just break everything down to yes and no's, Okay, I don't feel good. But so do I not take advantage of opportunity? Like I went this hard to say no, like I did everything I did up until this point just so that I can get to a point where I have the opportunity to go and meet people, and then don't take the opportunity to go meet people. That doesn't make sense, like how long did it take for me to get into these rooms, and that's a question everybody should ask themselves. Like how long did it take for me to get to the point where I can meet the kind of people that I meet, you know
That's fire. That's good. That's good.
It's really not about how you feel, you know, and in no capacity, you know, it's you, and it has to be that fire in you. You have to, the only people that's going to do something when they don't feel like doing it are the people that's going to do it because they know it's bigger than how they feel. You know, they have a bigger why. Like my why is bigger than my feelings, than being comfortable. So that's why I get up and I do the things because I think I have a strong why. You know, I have a
Yeah.
strong why.
So what's your why? What motivates you?
I just can't imagine being where I was at 5 years ago. I can't imagine being where I'm at today next year. The thought of being in the same spot scares me. You know, yeah, it's scary. You know, because you think about, you know, again, like how long it takes for you to for you to get from point A to point B, and then the level of energy is going to take to sustain being at that level. You learn so much through going through those motions. So how can I continuously gain experience and be smarter and know better and be in the same position? You know, that just means I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not taking advantage of my lessons learned. I'm not taking advantage of going out and meeting people. You know, there's no way that if I'm constantly breaking myself into new webs and networks or new rooms of people that are better than me. That's all of what this is about. It's never about being the best person in the room. It's about trying to break into the next room where you go from being the top dog to the bottom of the totem pole. Like that's the grind. The grind is to keep being the underdog, you know, and then people respect that. People respect seeing you come from, you know, like a lower class, you know, and putting on some weight and then going to the championship. People respect that, you know.
On that note, so getting into more rooms and other rooms. So you recently went to Puerto Rico for, I imagine, networking. I'm sure you had some business there, but tell us about that experience and then why you chose to go out there and like get in those rooms. Like, tell us all about that.
One of the guys that was hosting it, with two of the guys that was hosting it were our lenders on it. So um Marco Rivera, his name's like Marco Money Gems. I don't know if you've heard of him, but Marco is our lender, and then Marco, because he gave us 100 grand for our last deal, and I just wanted to go out there and show support because he threw the event because he's raising money for his hotels that he's buying in Puerto Rico with some other really high level people out there. So when I went out there, obviously I had some time to meet, sit, talk with him, but I also had the chance to shake hands with politicians, with other people that are in, you know, multi-unit, you know, syndications, 400 unit plus. And, you know, I'm meeting other people that are buying businesses. I'm meeting other private money lenders. You know, I'm just hearing everyone else's stories, and it's really just inspiring. Like I go for the level of connection that I get from just being around other people that are hustling just as hard as me, you know.
It's a different energy, right?
It's way different, man. It's like you truly see the power of your network when like when you get there and you like, oh, you flew out here on like a 3 week notice too, you know, and like you're here just to meet people too, you know, like you came here like just to meet people. Like wow, bro. Like yeah.
That's just inspirational. Now, did you ever picture yourself doing that maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago?
I never pictured myself flying to Puerto Rico to go meet a guy that just lended me 100 grand and then go literally go hang out with my friends the entire time and 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 just call it networking. You know, like we were networking in hot tubs, we were networking at the pool, we were networking eating dinner, we were, and it was all natural and it was all, you know, like effortless conversation. And it's like rewarding when you really sit back and you see like, damn, these are actually my friends, and they're buying apartment buildings, they're buying hotels in Puerto Rico, you know, like they're lending
Crazy.
out, yeah, they lending out crazy amounts of money, they're buying businesses, they got like affiliate marketing companies. Like you see was possible, and then and how everyone around you was accepting less from themselves. Like like they're not taking any sick days, you know. And you're like, why am I taking sick days? Like no one I'm around taking sick days. You know, no one I'm around is taking days off. So it's like the certain, you know, ideology just kind of like, you kind of just shed them. You kind of just shed old ways of thinking and old belief systems and habits just from being around people that operate on a higher level, you know.
100%. No, that's incredible. And man, I mean, just so many gems on networking. Man, appreciate it so much. My question for you. So you had mentioned, getting around these people, you see that anything is possible, right? Now, in the theme with the podcast, the Labelless Podcast, to remove labels off your life, what would you say as a final word to the people is how they can remove some labels off their life in networking if you just had to sum it up based on all your years of experience?
I would tell people to be extremely grateful, you know. I feel like, you know, it's just nothing supersedes gratitude, you know. Like, but yeah, like I've went on the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, and I've seen how you can, you know, transcend, and you can have those highs, and then I've also came, you know, to like my bottom before, and I feel like I didn't really learn a whole lot when I was having a good time. You know, I learned yeah, I learned the most when I felt alone, when I felt like I had to take action, when my back was like against the wall, and you really find yourself, you know, because when you have nothing else but yourself, you have nothing else to be grateful for but the fact that you're just kind of here, and that you're still breathing, and that, like, and I feel like people, we get too caught up in wanting all of the things and wanting to make money, and those things are really just a byproduct of just living righteously and just staying, you know, true to yourself, and like living intuitively, and saying like, hey, if I know I'm not supposed to go there or talk to this person for an hour on the phone or scroll on my phone for 3 hours straight because it makes me feel bad, I'm not going to do it. Like, just cutting out all of this stuff that makes you feel regrets afterwards. You know, the more you live in alignment with your conscience, like they call it conscience congruency, the more you can stay in your conscience congruency, the you're going to see just like your whole world change. Like, you're going to just be more secure as a person.
That is so good. So good. I appreciate it. And now, how can people find you?
You can follow me on my Instagram. It's right here, Britton.Jalen. And then I also just started up my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it. I can leave a link, but it's youtube.com/ at Britton.Jalen. And then, yeah, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's pretty much where I'll be sharing, like, how I got started, like pretty much more on how I got started, the common pitfalls, how you can get in and excel, let you in on like what I'm doing in my business. I'm thinking about dropping like calls with our bookkeepers, maybe even some walkthroughs with our contractors, meetings when I go sit down with my private money lenders, like just kind of let you guys in on, you know, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and just give back, and, you know, as much value as I can, you know, to the community of the people that, you know, helped me get to this point, and then the people that are coming after me.
Man, appreciate it. Well, everyone, you heard him. Go follow him. Instagram, YouTube, links will be in the chat. But man, Jalen, again, appreciate it so much.
Having me, man, it was an honor.